Hello everyone, I'm gonna be giving you a guide on Kanata's Conquest. See if you can get as many feats done as possible and the most efficient way that I can see. I don't think I can't get red crate, but I can get gold, and yeah, hopefully this guide will help at least some people if they're struggling to figure out what teams they want to use or a more efficient way of completing the feats. So the global feats are it's the usual 250 enemies on Golden Challenge path, then win 20 battles with at least 3 Darkside clone troopers, win 20 battles with a full squad of Jedi Vanguards, win 20 battles with a Mega Fugitive surviving, attempt to inflict accuracy down 100 times, gain advantage 200 times, and then the regular deployable calling system and booming voice disc feats. So, for a Mega Fugitive, as you can see, I'm currently building up my Bad Batch 2 team. But if you're not building them up, you can just put Omega in a team with JML, Jedi Knight Luke, Revan, and Tambor, and it should help you get it done. There is stuff about that I will come back to, because there are other survive feats, and annoyingly, Omega has to survive, whereas the Jedi Vanguard one and the Darkside clones, they don't have to survive, which is good for the Darkside clone one, because obviously, like I put here, you can use Lord Vader with them, or even possibly Tarkin if you don't have Lord Vader. But I've not invested in the Darkside clones, nor do I have Lord Vader. So what I'm probably going to do is just SWGOH with Kylo Ren unmasked, chuck in 3 Darkside clones, and do maybe like 2 to 3 of them a day. Maybe more if I can stretch it to that, but just keep doing that on a Datacron node to just... It's a good way of just getting, especially because it says with at least 3. If it said at least 4, it'd be a bit more tricky, but you can bring in a tank. You don't have to use SLKR. I suppose you could use Sith Eternal and bring in Tambor, or some other character that's going to survive a long time, and one of them is going to deal a lot of damage. Then the next one being Jedi Vanguard. So obviously if you have Master Windu, this is the team you're going to use. Unless you don't have Jocasta, in which case Shakti or Barriss or something. That's pretty easy, but I don't. So I'll be using this team, and hopefully I can do it. It might have to be a farming Sector 1 Datacron node thing, but it should be doable, because they're all relics. Might have to swap out someone like maybe Luminara to maybe get a bit more damage in there. And then advantage, I've gone with this team. You don't have to have Phasma. You can obviously use crew if you want, but I thought on Phasma's victory march, she grants advantage to everyone, so that's just more ways of getting it. But under the Supreme Leader Kylo team, you're going to get lots of advantage, so it shouldn't take too long. And accuracy down, this is such a rubbish one. The only characters that I can see that can apply accuracy down that aren't going to be a pain in the ass is Cad Bane on his basic, and Scout Trooper again on their basic. So I have put SOKR here, but what you could maybe do instead is throw in Jabba and then a couple of Hutt Cartel members like Chrysanthemum and Boosh, because Count Bane is Hutt Cartel, so you could even take out Scout Trooper if you wanted and do this. And Jabba does do really well in Conquest. He does usually 3-star. So there are some other options, but yeah, the accuracy that so few people actually inflict that. Really annoying. So Sector 1 is inflict doubt on enemies 60 times, attempt to inflict stagger 60 times, evade at least 100 attacks in battles you won, win 10 battles with Depa Billaba surviving, and then mini boss feats are win with Jedi Knight Caucasus surviving and CX2 surviving, and then the boss is win with Batcher surviving and win with only dark side characters. So, yeah, so I'm not going to dwell too much on the boss and mini boss ones because they're pretty self explanatory. I'll mainly just focus on the sector feats. So, first, I've got the stagger spam, which is under Palpatine's lead. If you just throw out tons of debuffs, then you'll take more turns. And Mara Jade, Scout Trooper, and Stark all have AoE staggers, so you could use that. Also, I've just realizing instead of oh had a caps lock on, instead of Vader you can maybe use Krennic because his AoE, oh, okay, it's only a 70% chance, but it is to all enemies, so potentially might be better off using Krennic. I don't think it really matters. I think these three should be fine, but try it with Krennic, I suppose. Try it with Krennic. If not, throw Vader in there if you're maybe dying too quickly. Now, doubt, the only option I really have is Malchus. He inflicts it on Dark Deception. I don't have anyone else who can inflict doubt. I think Queen Amidala can, but I believe it's on an Omicron, or even if that's wrong, it's only one character. And Aphra, as far as I know, would be the best option. I don't have Aphra, so if you've got Aphra, it'll be really easy for you. But yeah, it might be a bit of a pain. The evade feat, I've gone for this. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I've gone for this kind of weird team, mainly because with Rey, you stack up loads of mastery, and these four, all of their mastery stats are deflection and dodge, so that whilst I suppose you can do a thing with foresight maybe, but I thought this is more likely a team that will win a battle, so I tried that out. Plus foresight can be dispelled, mastery gains not really. And then yeah, like I was saying before with the Omega Fugitive one, you can use Wat Tambor and JML, but if you wait to do all the survive feats until the end and then throw the voluntary Vanguard data disc on, you don't need Wat Tambor, so you can throw in another Jedi. So, I mean, if you've got JML, you'll have Jedi Knight Luke, and you probably have Revan, but you can use Ezra Exile or maybe Jedi Knight Cal to do this. But yeah, this is the template for all the survive feats. JML, JKL, and Wat Tambor if you don't have Voluntary Vanguard on. And that's basically the best chance you're going to have, because JML is going to be basically permanently taunting, and I'd recommend trying to go against teams with little to no AoEs to try and maximise the survivability of your other character. like Depper or Omega or Batcher or whoever it is. So yeah, that's Sector 1. So, Sector 2. Speaking of Omega and Batcher, win 10 battles with Omega Fugitive and Batcher surviving, attempt to inflict daze 40 times, win at least 20 battles without losing any units, attempt to inflict buff immunity 40 times, and then the mini boss and boss feats, win with Lord Vader and Scorch surviving, win without any Force users in your squad, win with a full squad of Empire, and win with Jocasta surviving. So, yeah, again, I've put here the Bad Batch 2 team. If you've got the team, then obviously use that. If not, you can still do the JML thing. But this is where, I mean, putting Voluntary Vanguard on is going to be really helpful. Because given that you need 2 of them to survive, you're limited even more. So you only have 1 slot really up for grabs. And obviously, throwing Jedi Knight Luke or Ezra Exile or someone like that. But if you have Voluntary Vanguard, you don't have to waste a slot with Wat Tambor. But that might be annoying because you need both of them to survive. I know that sounds obvious, but it will make it a bit more tricky because you're having to worry about 2 characters surviving as opposed to just 1. For the days, I've gone with this Leia team mainly because Leia's amazing in Conquest. She pretty much always 3 stars, and even like really low mastery. I think it's because not mastery, stamina. When you're losing stamina, the enemy team is obviously going to take more turns, and when they take more turns, Leia is going to ramp up her team's crit avoidance. Well, that bonus turn meter. Okay, it's only bonus turn meter, but still, if they're taking bonus turn meter, then they're going to be ramping their crit avoidance, and so they're going to survive longer. So I've gone with Captain Rex because his suppressing fire has an AoE daze, and then I wasn't too sure who else to add, and then I thought, well, Captain Han Solo has a daze on the basic, so I guess put him in. There might be another rebel with an AoE daze, but I don't think so. So yeah, I think that's the best for that. Buff immunity, like days and buff immunity, you've got loads of teams that throw that stuff out. But I went with specifically Leia again because Rolo inflicts buff immunity on her basic, and Cassian does on his shock grenade. And then technically he will do again with crippling shot. So obviously you don't have to use Cassian. I mean, like mine's relic 8 for profundity. My Rolo's relic 6. She's only required at relic 5 for Leia, but we needed a relic 6 Rolo for platoons. But yeah, there are so many teams. Like Jedi Anakin has buff immunity. You know, loads of people have these 2 debuffs. I've just given you the examples that I'm going to be using. So, oh, and obviously the win 20 battles without losing any units. It's not really much of a strategy, I guess. It's mostly just what team do you think is going to survive the whole way. For me, that's going to be Leia and Jabba, as opposed to pretty much any other team. So, Sector 3. Attempt to inflict disarm 15 times. Win 10 battles with no tanks in your squad. Attempt to inflict blind 80 times. Defeat 35 enemies with Spectre units. And then the mini boss and boss. Win with only light side. Win with Balin. Defeat an enemy with Padawan Obi-Wan. And win with a Sith Empire character. So, the disarm 15 times. This is a bit of a weird team. Basically, Chrysanthemum has disarm on his dismember ability, and Wrecker has it on Colossal Smash. CO2, CX2 also has it, but my CX2 is really low gear, and I'm hoping to have Wrecker at Relics sort of soon, so hopefully you'll be able to survive in Sector 3. I, it is only 15 times, so it's not too bad, but it might take a little while just because there's very few characters who actually apply Disarm. Although, if you have built up the Darkside clones, I would say wait on the global feat. Wait until you get to Sector 3, so then you can do two at the same time. Similar to that, I should have mentioned it when talking about Sector 2. The Batcher and Omega Fugitive Surviving feat, don't do the Omega global feat until you get to Sector 2. Because then you've got half of them done if you do the Sector 2 feat with Omega and Batcher. So just trying to maximise the efficiency, wait until Sector 2 to do that. Win with no tanks. I've gone with Queen Amidala because while the decoy is a tank, I don't know if it actually counts. If it does, then like I'll test it out. I'll do one battle with Queen Amidala. If it doesn't work, then I'll use another team. The only other teams I can maybe think of is just throwing a GL but not putting any tanks in. But yeah, I think that I don't think the summons will count, but they could do. So if Queen Amidala doesn't work, then use another team. That's what I'm saying. Try it once. If it doesn't work, then use a different team. Blind, basically, 3PO and Chewie has an AoE blind, so it's pretty easy. That's about it. And then the Spectre kills, really annoying. I don't think I can do this one, because if I actually go to my Spectre faction, like, look at that, they're all low gear. Ezra Exile is the only one that's actually got proper investment in, and then Chopper is only Relic 3. So, if I really wanted to, I'd try with this, and maybe just try and get Ezra all of the kills. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do this feat. Of course, if you've got Ahsoka, then use this team, and you'll be able to do it easily. But if you don't, I think this is probably your best bet. But I'd probably just skip out on it, to be honest. So, Sector 4. Gain health steal up 60 times. Attempt to inflict tenacity down 50 times. Win 10 battles with crosshair scarred surviving. Inflict at least 300 damage over time's effects on enemies with an ability. And then the mini boss and boss. Win with Temple Guard surviving, win without attackers, win with SM33 surviving, and win with full Galactic Republic. So, again, with the crosshair, obviously, Bad Batch version 2, or do the JML thing with What Tambor, or the Voluntary Vanguard, and you should be fine. Even though it is Sector 4, so it might be a bit tricky, but again, when you're doing the survive fleets, just do your best to go against a team that don't really have any AoEs, or go with the team that has the least amount, because then obviously more chance they're gonna live. Oh, and also teams that can't avoid taunt effects for obvious reasons. Then the tenacity down one. Leia has tenacity down on her AoE with specifically healers and supports. Then Chewie has tenacity down on its basic, which is really good because of guard. He's gonna constantly assist. And then Rex has Tenacity down on his AoE. You can, I guess, put Han in here if you want to try and maximise Chewie's assists, but I don't think you'll need it. Of course, like the other ones that I said about, there are plenty of characters who inflict tenacity down, so while this is easiest for me, might be a different team, might be easiest for you. And also, if you've got the Padawan Obi-Wan Omicron, nice, you're going to have a much easier time. And then this, the damage over time, spam. I guess you don't really need Scout Trooper and Stark. I did like copy and paste the team, but I think they'd still be helpful because with their stagger, you can obviously push back the enemy turn meter and hopefully get Vader more turns. But yeah, like maybe put some other characters in, like maybe Moff Gideon or some other characters that either apply damage over time or just try and push turn meter. And then health steal up. This is the team I used last time because we did have a health steal up feat last time. Kira has it, I think, on her unique if a target's crit or something. If any, at the end of each turn, if any single enemy suffered more than one critical hit this turn, Kira becomes prepared and gains health steal up. So it's not massive, but there's not really many people that gain it. I mean, Emperor Palpatine does, but only really he gets it. IG-11 has it on this ability, but it's only when he's taunting, so that is a bit of a pain. But still worth doing anyway. Ezra Exile, he does have it. I can't remember where. His kit is too fucking massive. his kit is huge. And then Cal, I believe, has it here. Nope. Okay, well, it's somewhere. Maybe it's on his persistent ability. But yeah, just trying to maximise getting health steal up. It was really annoying last time, so not looking forward to having to do it again. Okay, Sector 5. Attempt to inflict Order 66 15 times. Gain Riposte 40 times. Attempt to inflict Ability Block 60 times. Win at least 10 battles with at least 3 pirates in your squad. And then the mini-boss and boss. Win with Wrecker Mercenary surviving. Win with Master Windu surviving. Win with Gel Ahsoka. And win without any attackers. So I definitely cannot do the Order 66 one. These are the only characters that have Order 66, and I haven't invested in them. But obviously, if you have, and especially if you've got Lord Vader, this will be so easy for you, because it's only 15 times. It'll be super easy, shouldn't have much problem. Now, Riposte and Ability Block. This is pretty annoying. The only two characters that I can really think of that gain Riposte are Jedi Knight Cal on his Windmill Defense and Count Dooku on his Master of Makashi. It's not a great team, and I don't know how well it's going to work. But on the plus side, Dooku does also apply Ability Block on his basic. So hopefully you can get a few ability blocks at the same time. And then Leia, I've just gone for just everyone possibly who could apply ability block. Old Ben has it on his AoE Mind Trick. Karkatan has it on his basic. Rolo has it on her AoE. Only thing is, it's got a cooldown of 14, and if you've got Geo Leia, then you can't reduce cooldowns, so you can only really do it once. But still, you've got the potential of getting 5 ability blocks, so probably still worth it. And then Cassian does it on, I assume, Shock Grenade. Yeah. There are other characters, of course, like Boba Fett has an AoE ability block. Vader has ability block on his basic, especially if you're using Merciless Massacre. So maybe you can do it with like SWGOH, but I think this would probably be the easiest for me personally. So yeah. Oh, and pirates. I forgot about pirates. There's not really a great lot to do because you don't really have a pirate team. That's what we're getting Maz for. Like, you've got Ithano, Quigold, Kix, SM33 if you've got him, and then Sana, Nest, and Hondo. And that's kind of why I've just thrown these on. I guess if you're like me and you don't have a relict Hondo, given that he is neutral, not light side, you could maybe throw Kix in instead. Might make it a tiny bit easier. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is the best because you have to have at least 3 pirates. I think it's either doing the SOKR and crew thing or Ray and Ben solo. um, so that's, I think, all the advice I have for Conquest. I hope this was helpful to at least some of you, even if it was just like 1 or 2 things I helped you with. I really hope it was helpful. And if you've got any suggestions for things that were more efficient, please let me know because no one likes Conquest, so let's try and make it easier for each other, help each other out. So, yeah, and if I've timed this correctly and this will be uploaded on Sunday, it will give you a couple days to figure stuff out before Conquest actually starts. So, good luck with this Conquest. And again, yeah, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.